Welcome back to Luxury Auto One, the channel where we usually take you on a journey into the world of refined living, luxury cars and the glamorous lifestyle of the elite. But today we are steering into unexpected territory, the kind of story that has nothing to do with vehicles yet captures the same kind of spectacle and drama that leaves people talking for weeks. This time it is about Hollywood royalty actor Brad Pitt and his fiery clash on the daytime talk show The View, a moment so intense it ended with him being kicked off live television. To understand how this unfolded, we need to set the stage. Brad Pitt rarely makes appearances on daytime talk shows. He is selective with interviews, preferring one-on-one discussions with late-night hosts or magazine features. So when producers of The View announced that he would be joining the panel, the excitement was huge. Fans anticipated charming stories about his career, his family, his new projects, perhaps even lighthearted banter with the hosts. What they got instead was a tense and explosive confrontation that no one saw coming. The day began with an electric atmosphere, the studio audience packed with fans, many holding signs or wearing Brad Pitt t-shirts. The hosts Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg, Sunny Hostin and Sarah Haynes were all smiles as they introduced their guests. The applause was thunderous. Brad walked out in his signature relaxed style, wearing a tailored blazer, jeans and that trademark grin. He greeted the panel, hugged a couple of the hosts and sat down at the center of the table. It looked like a perfect setup for a feel-good segment. The conversation started innocently enough. Brad spoke about his latest film project, his interest in architecture and his charitable work in rebuilding homes for communities in need. The audience was captivated, his words smooth and his presence magnetic. But then the shift began. Sunny Hostin leaned forward and asked a pointed question. She wanted to know how Brad reconciled his public image as a humanitarian with the ongoing legal battles surrounding his divorce and custody arrangements. The air grew heavy. Brad's smile faltered and he paused, clearly taken aback. He answered carefully, at first saying those are personal matters and I'd rather keep the focus on my work and the positive things happening in the world. But Sunny pressed again, reminding him that public perception matters and that fans care about accountability. Brad's voice grew firmer, his posture straighter. He said, I've always done my best for my kids and my family, and I don't think it's fair to drag them into a conversation meant to focus on professional achievements. Joy Behar chimed in, her trademark bluntness cutting through the tension. She said, but Brad, don't you think the public has a right to know, especially since you've shared so much of your life in interviews over the years? Brad turned toward her, his tone sharpening. I don't think anyone has the right to intrude on the well-being of my children. There's a line and that line has been crossed too many times. Whoopi Goldberg tried to defuse the moment with a joke, saying let's not get divorced on the table here, but the tension did not fade. Sarah Haynes attempted to pivot to another subject, bringing up Brad's influence in Hollywood and the responsibility of male actors to set examples. Brad nodded, but his responses were shorter, more clipped. It was clear he was struggling to keep composure. Then the spark that set the room ablaze came when Joy Behar brought up allegations of past conflict within his family. She framed it as a question about growth and accountability, but Brad took it as an attack. His voice raised for the first time. He said, enough is enough. I came here to talk about my work, not to relive every painful accusation. You people want drama, you want ratings. But I'm not here to be your punching bag. The audience gasped. The hosts exchanged nervous glances. Whoopi leaned forward and told him, Brad, calm down. It's just a question. We ask tough ones here, that's the job. Brad shot back, it's not a question when it's designed to humiliate me in front of a live audience. Joy raised her eyebrows unimpressed and said, hey Brad, nobody's trying to humiliate you, we just want honesty. That word honesty seemed to ignite him. He leaned across the table, his tone fierce. You think honesty is bringing up my kids on live TV? You think honesty is rehashing old wounds? You want honesty? Here it is. I'm tired of this machine that pretends to care about accountability while feeding off pain. The room fell silent for a moment, his words hanging heavy. Then Sunny responded, her voice calm but firm. Brad, the public doesn't see it as pain, they see it as transparency, and transparency is what builds trust. He shook his head, almost laughing in disbelief. Transparency? No, it's exploitation. You want to sell a story, you want a headline, that's what this is about. Audience members murmured, some clapping in support of Brad, others siding with the hosts. The tension was unbearable. The producers backstage began signaling for a commercial break, but the argument was too raw to stop. Joy leaned forward, her tone cutting. Brad, if you can't handle questions, maybe this isn't the place for you. Brad stood up abruptly, his chair scraping the floor, his voice booming. Maybe it isn't. Maybe this show is just about tearing people down. The crowd erupted in mixed reactions, boos, cheers, gasps. Brad paced for a moment, visibly furious. The hosts tried to regain control, Whoopi telling him, Brad, you're better than this, sit down, let's talk it through. But he shook his head, glaring, I don't need to sit here and be ambushed on national TV. Security began to move subtly closer, though not intervening yet. Producers finally cut to commercial, leaving viewers stunned as the cameras faded out, but backstage things escalated. Brad refused to return to the table, demanding that the show apologize for blindsiding him. Joy reportedly fired back, saying, "No one owes you an apology. You came here knowing what this show is about." Words flew back and forth, the tension boiling to the point where producers made the call Brad would not be coming back on air. The official word was that Brad Pitt had to leave the show early, but eyewitnesses knew the truth. He had been effectively kicked off after a confrontation that spiraled out of control. The rest of the episode proceeded with the hosts addressing the incident, carefully framing it as a difficult moment but one that reflected the show's commitment to asking tough questions. Social media exploded within minutes. Clips of the confrontation circulated online, trending under hashtags like Brad Pitt Clash, Brad Pitt The View, and Hollywood Meltdown. Fans debated fiercely, some arguing that Brad had every right to defend his privacy, others saying the hosts were simply doing their jobs. Critics dissected every word from both sides, some praising